Tell him I said hi.
Yeah,
He
I will.
has no idea who I am.
Yeah, I'm sure he's got a great memory.
Yeah.
Are we ready? Good morning. I would like to declare the December 13th, 2012 public session of the New York City Campaign Finance Board in session. Members, we have minutes from our November 29th meeting that were distributed in advance. If there are any corrections, please make them. If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. The chair would like to compliment the Amy and the staff for their continued great work while they're still in temporary quarters and in rather tight quarters. So congratulations on getting everything done so well and effectively. Amy.
Okay. I just have a brief report. First, I just want to mention that a group of the staff attended last week the conference for the Council on Governmental Ethics Laws. It's an international organization. It's a 3.5-day conference that is very informative. A number of our staff participated on various panels, and in particular, I want to thank Dan Cho, who this year was the program co-chair. He did an excellent job, wonderful program, everyone said so. I also want to thank the Small Business Services Administration, who has very nicely provided us with training space and been very accommodating. We are having our full schedule of training getting ready for next year's election, and candidates who are interested can just call our candidate services office to schedule them. Finally, I'm sure you've all seen the news reports on the City Council's campaign finance legislation. The board has received a request for an advisory opinion from Citizens Union and the New York Public Interest Research Group. We will have our public response ready in about 30 days. We are pleased that the Council has decided to take their time to consider this legislation carefully. We believe there are ways to address the concerns we have been hearing about in the recent days without tearing a hole in the city's landmark campaign finance program, and the AO will resolve some of those issues. We will be happy to engage in a dialogue with anyone in the coming days to address those concerns. I want to thank the CFB staff for their hard work on this matter over the past few days.
Thank you very much, Amy. Art Chang, Chair of the BACC.
Just wanted to say that we had one of the things that we're doing as part of VAC is running a meetup group called 21st Century Democracy and Technology, and you can find it at meetup.com/democracy. This last week, we had a session that where a number of local technologists showed off their civic technologies, and it's pretty exciting what's happening. And so we're going to run these monthly, and I want to thank Kara Rhoda on my staff for co-organizing this and making it happen. And Eric Friedman from the Campaign Finance Board has been very, very active as well. So thank you both, and encourage everybody to sign up and to attend.
Thank you, Art. We now have candidate appearances. We would ask Thomas Cook, please, to come forward.
Okay. And first, I just have a couple. I'm going to explain what's going to happen, but first, I want to make sure everyone who's seated in the audience, make sure that their microphones that are on the desk, there's no light lit, make sure they're off, because it makes it difficult for the court reporter and our web stream to hear. Mr. Cook, what will happen is our staff attorney will give a brief summary of the issues before the board, and then you'll be able to have an opportunity to respond. The board has 2 other candidates to hear from this morning, but after that we'll go into executive session to deliberate on the penalties and repayments that are before it today, and then come back into public session to vote on those penalties. You are welcome to wait to hear the board's results, or if you do not wish to wait, a member of our staff will call you immediately after the board meeting.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Danica.
Good morning, Father Parks, members of the board, Executive Director of OPRES, Mr. Cook. My name is Danica Yu, counsel for the CFB. With me today is Joe Cormier, auditor for the CFB. Before the board is the matter of the Thomas Cook campaign in the 2009 primary election for City Council District 19. CFB staff recommends that the board find that the campaign committed the following 6 violations of the Act and the board rules. 1, filing disclosure statements late. 2, failing to accurately report cash receipts, resulting in a $17.5 variance. 3, accepting a corporate contribution. 4, failing to provide a family member form. 5, failing to document 3 transactions. 6, failing to respond to post-election requests for audit documentation. The campaign only contests alleged violations 1 and 6, which are filing disclosure statements late and failing to respond to post-election requests for audit documentation.
Thank you, Debbie. Mr. Cook?
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, I feel like I'm in a strange position. I feel like my situation informs my activities after the campaign in terms of my failures to reply on time. I hate to go into anything personal, but I feel like I need to give some backstory as to why.
Mr. Cook, I just want to say, if you're uncomfortable, we have read the materials, so we're happy to hear what you have to say, but we have read the materials.
All right. Well, I would like to say, well, thank you for taking the time to read those. I'd like to say that up until a few years ago, I had been in this chair for about 20 years. I was injured when I was in the military. I was hit by a drunk driver. And I had been very, very productive, very positive, always moving forward with my life, had accomplished a lot of things, and was performing like a normal, productive member of society. I ran for office in 2009, and throughout the campaign, we complied with the deadlines of CFB and had a lot of feedback with Adam Schaffenberg and Joe Cormier and others. After the election, I went through a very difficult personal time that was a result of some things that happened in my personal life and also some significant medical difficulties, which I've documented. I've written a letter to the board. I provided supporting medical documentation. Those circumstances that I wrote to the board about and that my doctors wrote about were the overriding reasons why I did not and was not able to comply with the post-audit requests for such a lengthy period of time. Things have gotten a lot better for me recently, even though I was recently hospitalized twice, and I was able to submit pretty much all of the requested material, except for a couple of minor things which are in the penalties from 2 through 5, which is why I don't contest those. The penalties for filing late for number 1 and for not filing on time for number 6. I admit, yes, we did not file on time as a campaign. I'm not contesting that statement, but I am requesting that, given the medical and other difficulties that I had and I've documented, that the board waive or greatly reduce those penalties, which would otherwise be a great burden on me. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cook.
Do you have any questions for any of the individual?
That's what I say.
Yeah.
Questions, comments, anyone on the board?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Cook.
Thank you.
So our next candidate appearance is...
Tulani Kennard. She's not here? Okay, so we'll just move to the next, which is the Melinda Katz campaign.
I'm actually waiting for my liaison also. Stuff in traffic. I can tell you what I have. I don't have some other information on it.
Do you know how much more time about?
I don't.
You don't? Good traffic is like that.
Let me just give you a little bit of background.
If you could
Come up,
first.
please.
Okay.
Which guy?
This is
Yes,
Melinda
Katz.
Katz.
We were recently given.
Can you just, I'm
My
sorry.
name is Ron.
Okay.
Right there.
Mic on, please.
Yeah. Why don't you sit,
Hey,
the mics are in the
oh,
desk, so
okay.
it's easier for them.
Keep your hands.
Thank you. We recently discovered that there was some discrepancy with what we believe the public funds that we received and also the ordering of who we are able to pay from the funds that we do have available. We were dealing with Bethany going back and forth, and I just spoke with her this morning and learned another bit of information, which we also need to clear up because that's incorrect. What appeared to happen is we had some election workers that were not paid. They were on our outstanding liability list. When we got our final payment, we were told we had to pay these 3 corporations, which we felt was unreasonable due to the fact that we have employees that still need to get paid versus a corporation. When we started that dialogue with Bethany, she said that those employees were not on our outstanding liability list according to what she said was statement number 16. We went back to your website, which did show that it was an outstanding liability. And I later now discovered that she said we submitted some type of pay documents showing that it was paid, which is, I believe we probably did submit pay documents to show that it was a liability because you have to calculate it out for tax purposes and so forth, what you owe the federal government and so forth. So I know that those people were not paid, and I'd like to get to the bottom of that, where the discrepancy is. I mean, during our audit process and during the whole process, there's been so many things going back and forth. I don't know what they're particularly using, what those pay stubs were submitted for at this point, because I just learned of it 10 minutes ago.
Okay.
So those people,
What did you just learn 10 minutes ago?
that the pay stubs that we submitted were thought we were telling you guys that we paid those people. And that's, the outstanding liabilities for the few employees were not paid. So I don't know where that discrepancy lies. I just found that out 10 minutes ago from Bethany.
Why did you just find it out 10 minutes ago? They're your records.
No, our records are,
I
don't know that's
where
what,
did we get the pay stubs from?
we probably submitted to you in response to some other point.
Right. So that what I'm confused about is these are your pay stubs,
Right.
which appear on their face to show people were paid.
I don't know why it appears to show that. Was there a check associated with it?
Which
You have a pay stub.
you have a pay stub.
A pay stub doesn't mean it's a check. We probably had to generate a pay stub so that we could put it on the campaign finance report that it was a liability. And this is my colleague.
Okay.
Can I just speak with him for 1 second?
Yeah, sure, why don't you, yeah.
Thank you. They're saying that they have.
Why don't you turn off your microphone?
Yeah, well, you can, yes, yeah.
Or not.
Doesn't have the check number.
Okay, so what I'm learning is that these were not originally submitted. We submitted them because we were told we needed to submit something to.
We gave a gross wage number for the period, saying this is what to do for the total amount of employees of X number of dollars. And then we were told you have to submit exact numbers for each employee. So we created pay stubs to show the exact numbers. Only for that purpose. The checks have never been written. There's no check numbers on the pay stubs.
But
and the
when
taxes
did you
haven't-
submit these pay stubs?
During the audit process.
Yeah, months
So that's
after.
my question. What I don't
year
understand is
after.
why you're saying you just discovered these.
No, we discovered that
You just said that
that was the point that no, when we told Bethany, if we go back to our email of the 28th of November, we said to her, we don't understand why we have to pay these people, the corporations that are outstanding versus paying the employees. Our feeling is these are individuals, they should get paid first, they were workers, versus a company getting paid first. So that's when she said that, let me just find it here.
It was also during the audit process that they said they didn't like the fact that we just had a gross number for campaign wages versus showing detail of who each person.
Can I ask a question? Were these employees on contract or were they?
No
W-2
contract.
employees? Okay.
No.
Now, did you have any kind of an employment agreement with them?
No, we
Any,
didn't have those.
any type of a contract with them? Any record of their hours worked or what they worked on? Did they have titles?
They had titles, yes. I don't think there were contracts actually written for each one.
I don't believe there were anyone higher up in the
paid,
campaign. I think
it
there
was
was
paid
more.
a standard rate. It was the same thing, from the beginning to the end. And then, that last check just was not written because
So
the
they're
funds weren't
outstanding
there.
employee liabilities.
Correct.
Right, and so what you try to do is to document the outstanding liability, you generated a pro forma pay stub.
Correct.
Is that what you're saying?
Correct. And what we
Correct.
did in discovering this when we got the final payment was, we feel that an individual should get paid before a company should get paid. And what we were being told was, Bethany wrote to Stephen in a follow-up with our orders, to answer your question, we only make payments post-election based on reports, outstanding liabilities as of statement number 16. While the campaign workers after 1/11/10 were proper workers, they don't qualify for payment because they were post-election workers, which we replied, that is completely incorrect. All of the campaign workers' payments due were for and were reported as due in September of 2009. This is evidenced by the CFB website, which is on your website, and we have attached a copy of Statement 16 detail from your website showing this.
Well,
And unfortunately, they were not in their
Do you
space,
think-
so they didn't have some of their records.
can I just make a clarification? Just, and Bethany, you can correct me if I'm wrong. The reason these were submitted at all was there was a question about whether these were improper post-election expenditures. Is that correct?
It was originally, I believe the penalty cited was failing to report transactions, and he's correct that they had submitted just one lump sum, and we needed each employee's specific wages, which is what this was submitted in response to. The issue of Statement 16 was because at the time of those emails, the campaign had not yet sent us the actual names and amounts of the specific employees that we were talking about, and so there was a miscommunication as to which employees were in question.
And
Wait, I'm confused on that statement. You said we did submit it
We
earlier.
submitted it in the 502A petition, which was why we then looked into this and discovered the pay stubs afterward.
Did we
but
sub-
at the
did we
time of that
submit it?
email-
It was submitted
Election.
during the audit, though, we submitted it.
Forgive me, during the course of that email, it wasn't clear which employees you were talking about.
So my question is, when did these emails, when did we first hear about this, the question about who they needed to pay?
That was in response to, I guess you have the emails in front of you, but on around mid-November, we emailed the campaign to ask for the documentation of how they'd spent the post-election payment, and that was when this issue was first raised by the campaign.
So, I mean, I guess my question is why, when you got the check in September, did it take till November to realize that you couldn't pay because the check came with a letter with the list of the payments that were acceptable, and I was wondering why it took till November.
Well, because
to
we,
do it.
at that time, we did not realize there was a deadline in terms of how quickly you had to make a payment out on it. So we did not focus on that. Where we're a CPA firm, we had a major deadline on September 15th. So we put that off. Then when we got into October, there was a hurricane. It was the timing was off, but we did not realize that there was a deadline for making those payments and that you guys were actually going to tell us who we had to pay. It was when Bethany sent us the email that we had to immediately focus on. We wanted to get you back. We didn't realize we had to get you back the letter. And when we looked at it, we were like, why can't we pay these workers? They're due the money first over a corporation. It just would make no sense to us not to pay individual people that need to, that are emailing us, where's our pay, on a weekly basis. Some of them do that. So it just should be right that these folks should get paid.
Can I ask you a question?
I mean, my firm is
Basic question.
do a lot of money, and I'm not even looking for my money in terms of ahead of anybody. I put myself last so that people can get paid first.
So were these folks on payroll for an extended period of time?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you have,
it was a continual payroll. It was
Yeah,
just,
so your
this
bank
was
records
just the
show
last
this is
check.
the regular
The last check
payroll
just was not written because it was September 16th.
Too much.
Sorry.
One person at a time, please.
Sorry.
Okay, all right. Could you repeat your question,
so
please?
can you tell us sort of, how you paid for them and where those payments would have been shown in your bank records?
During the course of the campaign? I mean,
They were paid through a regular payroll system, taxes paid, everything was detailed in,
throughout the whole campaign.
C-Smart.
C-Smart.
yeah. Oh, wait.
It was just the last payroll that did it. This is the very last payroll.
Okay, any other questions?
I mean, just in terms of, Bethany, what is your current view or understanding as to whether this is an outstanding liability?
My understanding of pay stubs is that they indicate that a payment has been made. That's not something, I'm not an expert, and it's possible that you could generate this without actually making a payment, but our understanding upon receiving pay stubs was this is documentation of expenditures.
Okay, well, as auditors, did you go through our bank statements and see that it wasn't paid? I mean, I'm a CPA for many years. I mean, and I've been an auditor for many years as well. So there's another process besides just saying we're handing you in it. That was in response to please detail this lump sum number, and we gave you the details. We had to generate something in order to get those details for you, and we generated pay stubs. Okay, nowhere in our records does it show that it came out of the bank. Nowhere do we give you a check number. Nowhere do we provide that, or nor do you say that anywhere. And we list it as an outstanding liability on our report, and nowhere do we say it was paid.
Good. Thank you. Courtney?
Does it matter if there's a check number on the pay stub?
I would ask Joe, the auditor, to speak to that. That's just not my area.
Okay.
No check number. There was no check.
From our perspective, we have seen the pay stub. It showed on the top of it, there's a check date of 12/31/09. And also in their written response to it, they indicated that the payroll taxes on them were paid, which is why there was the original discrepancy from what was reported and why we made them itemize it out. So in addition to it saying that there was a check date on there, the fact that they told us they paid the payroll taxes on it also gave us the indication that they were paid.
Well, you can have the indication, but it wasn't paid. You look at our bank statements. You guys carefully go back and forth. You ask for check numbers throughout the campaign.
Calm down.
Excuse me?
Calm down.
I'm very calm. I just have a loud voice. And you ask for documentation on check numbers throughout the audit and so forth on various things. Okay, we paid the payroll taxes so that we wouldn't further complicate penalties and so forth by not paying in the government what they're due at their appropriate time. So we made those payments immediately so that we wouldn't have additional problems, you know, because we didn't have funds at that point, at the end of the campaign. So again, we're not allowed to just make payments without it coming out of the bank checks and so forth. That's your rules. So then how, if you don't see it on the bank statement, where did it come from?
Okay. Thank you very much.
Taxes on this were not paid.
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The payroll taxes on these checks have not been paid yet. Any payroll taxes that you might see that were, you know, at the period that just immediately followed that were related to the prior month, which is how payroll taxes work.
Okay, any other questions?
Prepaid.
Okay, we will now move into executive session. Thank you.
campaign, making improper post-election expenditures, and filing a late response to the draft audit report. CFP staff is also recommending that the board find that the campaign must repay public funds. The campaign contests 3 of the alleged violations and penalties in the public funds calculation.
Thank you, Bethany. Please introduce yourself for the report.
My name is Stan Lee Kennard. I'm campaign manager for the committee to elect.
Thank you. Welcome.
To elect Kennard. Basically, we just received the findings of the final findings yesterday via email. I spoke to Ms. Persky on yesterday, and we are requesting that they have the opportunity. We haven't really had the opportunity to clearly review them. I mean, they've been very cooperative, but we just received it via email. It was mailed out. The candidate certainly has not had the opportunity to fully review it, and neither has other members of the committee to fully review it. That's number one. Secondly, one of the things that we really want to look at is the expenditures. It's been like, we've had some difficulties, in terms of pulling our documentation together, but with the not having the ability to make direct contact with Campaign Finance Board, I guess because of the hurricane, et cetera, had we, and if we have the opportunity to really sit and talk with them, then we feel that we have some additional documentation that we would like to submit, that we feel they're currently partially qualified, and we feel that they can be fully qualified. We've come a long way, and this is no offense to anyone. I mean, I think they've been very, very cooperative, but we have undergone some difficulty in pulling this thing together. So we're asking and appealing to the board for that we have the opportunity to really pull our response together, that we have additional time to do that, and secondly, that we're able to submit some additional documents once we have the opportunity to sit with the candidate services unit.
Thank you. So you want to just caucus?
I just wanted to point out that we've already granted 2 extensions and also accepted some documentation that was submitted a few days after the final deadline that the campaign was given. And while they did just receive the final board memo yesterday, they received the penalty notice several months ago when we sent it out. So they have had some time to review all of the materials.
Good. Courtney?
Is there, do you have a response as to why the draft audit response was filed late?
You see, that's one of the things that we want to contest. I mean, we have been, requested several extensions, and some of them via calling up and speaking to folks over the phone, and then emailing requests for extension. I mean, that came, and I don't have it in front. I think it was between February and April.
Yes.
And then after that, we were granted several extensions. It's our position that we did request an extension prior to. I mean, I gotta see what I can pull together to show that actually happened. But it's the fine, I believe, that incurred was $50 a day, and I think it's like 40-something days. 42 days, right.
But that penalty did not change in any way
That
after
has
the
not.
notice was sent in mid-September, correct?
Right.
Our records indicate.
And I don't have anything to show right now. I don't. Okay, but what I'm really looking at is, we just got the report, particularly with the expenditures, and I mean, just literally yesterday emailed. And I mean, when I'm speaking, you said it was mailed out, but we're just really looking at this, and that's one. And the other part is the fact that we were not able to really come and sit with the, candidate services unit. Then we kind of feel like somewhat at a disadvantage in terms of putting our best foot forward. I mean, we significantly reduced the public funds expenditure in terms of proving that they were documented and qualified expenditures. So I think it's close to $16,000 is in question, which still is significant, but we feel that with some, proper, advice and technical assistance, that we will be able to significantly reduce that amount also.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions? So we will break briefly for an executive session. Now back in public session, I would ask Rich to just say a brief word before we get to the rest of the agenda.
I think the board has decided to proceed with the Tulani-Kennard vote today, premised largely on the fact that what was received yesterday was not anything new, but was the result of conversations that began at the end of September when the notice of violations were sent, and so therefore we've had several months of discussions to try and reduce the amounts, and there has been, as was noted, a reduction in the amounts. And as the board has reviewed this package beforehand, well, I think that we decided to make some adjustment in the penalties. Based on what we've seen, we don't see that there was anything further to be gained by further extension, since the non-qualified were largely things that are clearly non-qualified, payments to family members and payments for petition expenditures, things that just are not allowed under the rules.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you very much, Rich. Amy?
Okay, now we'll have a vote on penalties. The first matter is the matter of Fernando Cabrera, candidate in 2009 for City Council District Number 14. $250 for failing to provide merchant account statements. $250 for failing to accurately report cash receipts. $800 for failing to report and/or document specific transactions. $250 for failing to accurately report receipts and disbursements. $250 for accepting an over-the-limit contribution. $345 for making improper post-election expenditures. $50 for responding late to the draft audit report. $250 for accepting a contribution from an unregistered political committee, for total penalties of $2,445.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Next, we have the campaign of Thomas Cook, candidate for City Council District 19 in 2009, for filing a disclosure statement late, a penalty of $750, and a violation, no penalty. $500 for failing to accurately report cash receipts, resulting in a 17.57% variance. $25 for accepting a corporate contribution. $50 for failing to provide a family member form. $150 for failing to document 3 transactions, and a violation, no penalty, for failing to respond to post-election requests for audit documentation, for total penalties of $1,475.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Next candidate, Robert Hornak, candidate for Queensborough President in 2009. $1,700 for failing to file 2 disclosure statements and filing 2 disclosure statements late. A violation, no penalty, for failing to provide bank statements. $500 for accepting a corporate contribution. $750 for accepting a contribution from an unregistered political committee. $2,000 for failing to report and document in-kind contributions. $289 for failing to respond to the initial request for documentation, and $289 for failing to respond to the draft audit report, for total penalties of $5,528.
Motion?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Next, the campaign of Tulani Kennard, candidate in City Council District Number 41 in 2009. $200 for filing 2 disclosure statements late. $250 for failing to provide bank statements. $200 for failing to report 7 transactions. $50 for failing to comply with subcontractor reporting requirements. $100 for failing to demonstrate that spending was in furtherance of the campaign. $100 for making improper post-election expenditures, and $1,534 for filing a late response to the draft audit report. Total penalties of $2,434.
Motion? All in favor? Aye.
Next candidate, Dexter McKenzie, candidate in City Council District 45 in 2009. $1,000 for filing 3 disclosure statements late, $250 for failing to provide bank statements, $600 for failing to report 12 expenditures, $2,000 for failing to accurately report cash receipts, $50 for failing to comply with subcontractor reporting requirements, $6,500 for accepting an over-limit contribution, a violation no penalty for failing to provide signed intermediary affirmation statements, $50 for failing to report an in-kind contribution, $100 for failing to demonstrate that spending was in furtherance of the campaign, $200 for failing to document 4 expenditures, $1,464 for failing to respond to the notice of inadequate response to the request for additional documentation, $7,321 for failing to respond to the draft audit report, and $1,030 for accepting 2 corporate contributions for total penalties of $20,565.
Motion?
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye.
And the final is Clyde Vanell, candidate for City Council District Number 27 in 2009. $250 for accepting 2 corporate contributions, $300 for filing a disclosure statement for filing a disclosure statement 6 days late. $2,000 for failing to accurately report cash receipts, $500 for failing to accurately report monetary receipts, $1,452 for failing to document 31 transactions, $117 for making impermissible post-election expenditures, $2,712 for accepting an over-limit contribution, for total penalties of $7,331.
Motion?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Next we have repayments. Fernando Carrera, repayment of his final bank balance of $5,991.04.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Thomas Cook, public funds repayment of $2,028.21.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Talani Kennard, public funds repayment of $16,354.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Dexter McKenzie, public funds repayment of $62,810.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Clyde Vanell, public funds repayment of $540.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, there being no further business, I'm willing to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry?
I forgot about we have to vote on Melinda Katz's petition. I'm sorry.
Got it.
Before the board is a petition, a 502A petition from Melinda Katz, candidate for controller in the 2009 election. The staff recommends that the board vote to deny the petition.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. There being no further business, I'm willing to entertain a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Thank you all very much.